Mr. John Downs, a very old friend of mine. How lovely to have you on Digi. We go back a long way, don't we? You and I.
Best part of 20 years, I think. So,
Yeah, I think it probably is that. You sent me an email probably about 20 years ago. Is you were a fan of Digitizer, and then it had at the bottom of the email that you were the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and I thought, hello, what is this? As an ex-reader of the Fortean Times, I started messaging you back and going, what is all this? And then ended up going on an expedition in Guyana with. Well, you didn't come on that, but with you, you guys organised it, which was one of the finest and toughest experiences of my life.
In Tucker Village, which is the starting point for our expedition proper. We're going to be walking up over that mountain over my left shoulder, and from there we're going to be walking across a plateau to a small village where we're camping the night. And from there I think we're going to go and explore some caves where some pots contain human bones, so I'm told. I'm looking forward to getting on with it now, get out of that horrible insect ridden guest room and proper in the field. So yeah, should be good.
So you had an infestation of army ants, didn't you?
Yeah, my bed was full of ants last night and some horrible black wasp thing that was under my sheet. So I deeted my entire bed and slept in a kind of toxic cocoon, which I'm quite fortunate, I think, that I wasn't gassed in there. So yeah, on the road now. This is it.
Fantastic.
Viewers, if you are watching, if you'd like to watch me talking about my expedition in Guyana, there'll be a link in the description.
the reason I emailed you back 20 years ago was because Richard and I have always been amazed that Digitizer wasn't written by me and him.
This is Richard Freeman, by the way,
Yeah.
everyone, who is what's his role in? He's like your second in command, if you like.
He's the zoological director of the CFZ.
It was very apparent that we all shared a similar sense of humour, which is why I think we clicked. And Richard, when I owe him, because when we were in Guyana, I think I probably told you this, John. When we were in Guyana, and I've definitely told you this, I had this moment where it was like, I can't do this. This is the most brutal thing I've ever done. And Richard was so sweet and lovely to me, and I've never forgotten it. It was like, in those moments, the people that matter. And actually, you're the same. When I had a very rough time in 2008, you and I used to chat on the phone constantly, and you were just so sweet to me. So thank you for that to both of you. You're both very dear to me. So tell me about the CFZ and you and how it all came about before we get on to big cats.
Yeah, because we're getting in danger of getting soppy there.
I know. This is what's happened in my old age, John. I've got far too soppy. It's her fault.
My fault.
Yeah.
You were already sloppy.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sanya is a wonderful woman. I worship her from afar.
Oh, there you go. We were just watching back the footage we were watching yesterday. She was going, "Oh, I wish my voice wasn't so annoying." And I'm like, "No, everyone loves you." So there you go. You've had it now, straight from the horse's mouth.
You don't even slightly have an annoying voice. Don't be daft. I've got everybody trying to contact me all at once and making binging noises.
That happens, yeah.
I'm not as bad with technology as Richard Freeman. He's much worse than me.
I see.
But that's the joy, you two. Is you're both kind of quite old school, and that's you both struck me as kind of almost coming from a different era of kind of exploration, and kind of that, and that's what always fascinated me. It's like you hold on to this kind of ideal of an age when the world was a lot bigger and a lot more mysterious. I mean, look at you. You look like you stepped out of a Victorian steampunk novel or something with your hat. It's you're an icon. CFZ and you. What I know the story, but for
of course,
might not. What's the story? How did it come about?
Okay, I've been fascinated by cryptozoology since I was 8 years old. I can pinpoint the date because it was in March 1968. I was living in Hong Kong with my family, And my mother, every Thursday, used to go into town to play tennis with her friends, drink coffee, do whatever ladies of a certain age did in those days. And then she'd always go to the library and she'd bring back thrillers for my dad, picture books for my little brother, and books about animals for me, because I was fascinated by and completely enthralled by animals. And one day she brought back a book called Myth or Monster, and it totally blew me away. It was one of the three great epiphanies in my life. The other two being when I first heard the Sex Pistols and when I discovered that boys were different to girls.
So who wrote, was it Man and Myth? Who was it, Bernard?
The trouble is, I don't know.
Oh, no.
Basically a kid's version of a book called On the Track of Unknown Animals, which is the Bible of cryptozoology by a guy called Bernard Heuvelmans.
That's it.
I've never been able to find the book. I look on all the second-hand bookshops online. I look everywhere and I try to get hold of a copy. I think it's possible that because in Hong Kong in those days, there was a big market in bootleg records and books that have been published elsewhere in the world that they published with slightly different names as knockoffs.
Right.
And it seems appropriate that the CFZ was started by me reading a pirate book.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So how did you go from that to founding the CFZ? CFZ?
I read it's CFZ, you horrible man.
What's going on?
Wait, I've got to think about 3% of American viewers.
Well, sod them. They're Canadians. They can't speak the King's English. I expect better from you, Biffo.
Z. I do apologise. Z.
No, Zed.
Z. Oh, can't help it. I don't know. Z.
Really? How do you put up with him, Sonia?
She barely does.
Just hanging on by a thread.
Oh, no, he's a sweetie pie. I love him dearly.
Oh, stop. It's all becoming a loving. Everyone's throwing up watching. So how did you get on to forming the organisation of which you now run? I'm not going to say it again because I'll say it wrong.
Yeah, I went to school the next morning and I was full of this book I'd read. Totally blew me away. And the teacher I had that year was called Mrs. Alexander. And I remember her being impossibly old with a shock of grey hair, which was probably younger than I am now, and probably not massively tall and probably didn't have a shock of grey hair, but she was from Northern Ireland. And I'm not going to even attempt to do the accent because A, it would be cultural appropriation, B, I can't do the accent. But she said, so what are you going to be, children, when you grow up? And George says, I'm going to be a soldier, miss, like my dad. And Freddie says, I'm going to be an accountant, like my dad. And what are you going to be, Jonathan? I'm going to be a monster hunter, miss.
Nice.
Drew herself up to her full height, took her glasses down and said, young man, if you don't learn your 9 times table, you're never going to amount to anything. Well, dear Mr. Alexander, I think you're probably long gone by now, but if it so happens that somewhere in Northern Ireland there's an old people's home with you in it, I still don't know my 9 times table. But I am the English-speaking world's, well, one of our only professional monster hunters. And that's mainly because I can't do anything else. I'm no good at anything else.
But, you know, it's impossible in this country to sort of investigate or look into or read about the weird and unusual without kind of seeing, you know, either your name or the CFZ kind of cropping up.
Oh, hello.
Oh, it's a cat.
Oh,
there we go. A
big
patriot.
cat.
This is Peanut.
Hello, Peanut.
I wonder what you were going to say there, John. I wouldn't put that past you.
Oh, for goodness sake, I've got a higher standard for digitizer than just a string of dick jokes from you.
Didn't you used to have a cat called Helios 7, though?
I did, but she died. She died. I also had a cat called Chastikos the Deceiver after another of your characters.
An amazing name.
Yeah.
But they both went on to the great catnip factory in the sky many years ago. But anyway,
Anyway, sorry. Please continue.
Anyway, I got my interest in cryptozoology continued throughout my teenage period and my 20s, and I joined a very dull organization called the International Society of Cryptozoology, which has long since gone tits up, and did the remarkable feat of managing to make the most interesting subject I've ever come across incredibly boring.
Right.
So I thought then I could do better than that. And I was working at the time, I was working for Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel.
That's right. I remember. Yeah. Come on, make me smile.
Wow.
She's got this lovely look on her face of what the hell are those?
I generally have to, grew up in Australia, so I sometimes have to explain cultural references to Sanya. But
of course.
But you do know, come up and see me, make me smile. Oh my God.
Maybe
there's nothing left. It's all it's okay. Metal. You have no idea. You still got no idea.
No, still no idea.
I'm playing it to you. It's one of the greatest songs of the 70s.
But anyway, I was working for him, and I'd managed to screw up my visa, so I wasn't allowed to work in Ireland. So when the show. When we finished our gig in Aberdeen, the rest of the band went off to Belfast and Dublin for 3 or 4 days, and I dragged my first wife and the other people I was working with that I forgot to screw the visa, that I screwed the visa up for. We all went to Loch Ness.
Oh, nice.
And I was sitting on the shores of Loch Ness, smoking a suspiciously long cigarette. And I was thinking, shit, man, wouldn't it be a good idea, man, if I started a club for people who are interested in mystery animals? Hey, let's call it the Centre for Fortean Zoology. And I told my dear, long-suffering wife, and she told me I was an idiot. But she backed me anyway, and I started this. I started this organization with 3 members: me, her, and a bloke called Dave.
What year was this, roughly?
1992.
Okay, yeah.
Then 2 years later, I started a little magazine about cryptozoology called Animals and Men, named after a song by Adam and the Ants. And you must know who Adam and the Ants are.
I know who Adam and the Ants are. Yep.
The song they did called Animals and Men, which is all about a surrealist convention somewhere, I believe in Spain in about 1920, but that's another story. But anyway, I still took a lot of drugs in those days, and I decided that calling the magazine after a obscure song by Adam and the Ants was a great idea and would really, really appeal to the scientific community and get them to take it.
There must be some Adam and the Ants fans.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Among even scientists.
Well, I'm still doing the magazine now. We've just published issue 77.
Nice.
And I took a briefcase full of the first 200 copies of the first issue to the first Fortean Times convention, during which I made friends with a few very influential people and flogged the whole lot, and suddenly realized, bloody hell, maybe this thing isn't just another one of my idiotic ideas. Maybe this is actually a goer. And I've been doing it ever since.
And you've organised expeditions all around the world, which Richard often leads.
It's usually Richard.
I mean, you did one fairly recently, didn't you? Last year, he did one?
Oh, he did, but he did one to take us down a few months ago.
A few months ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I mean, it's brilliant that he's still going, he's still leading these things. Go check out the CFC. I'll put the links in below John's channel, and you think it's all going to be kind of po-faced and the like. It's not. John and Richard always bring an element of humor. And if you like stupid
Dare you say that? We don't
I do apologize. It's not meant to be funny.
we are po-faced, great scientists. I never have a talking cat or wear a city hat.
Yeah. If you'd like to watch some serious academic researchers dressed up as animals and
And singing stupid songs.
singing stupid songs.
Presenting serious science.
Yeah. If you like Digitizer, basically go and watch John's channel and subscribe on Facebook to Animals and Men. It's not as dodgy as it's. I've always thought that about the it does
You
sound like
really are a horrible man, Biffo. I
That's
don't know why I have been friends with you for so long.
So look, we are looking for big cats, and that was specifically why I wanted to chat to you today.
Do you think they're real? How many are out there? Where did they come from? And why aren't there better photos?
Anybody can take a good photo of Auntie Mabel when you can get out your phone and Auntie Mabel's sitting over there in the chair and she's sitting still, and you go. But taking a photograph on the fly out of a car window is not easy. You try it sometime. Try it when you're next in the country. Try taking a photograph of a sheep or a cow or something out of your car window when you're not expecting it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard enough for me to take a photo of our cats here without what if they're moving, to try and get a good shot of them without it being blurry.
That's true. Yeah. Mind you, it's apparently it's just as difficult to get a good photo of you, according to you.
Oh, you as well. You're just as bad as
give me the phone. Delete.
as bad
Anyway,
as me.
Sanya is the most beautiful woman I've ever known on these shows, and anybody could take a good photograph of her.
I agree.
You're ugly mug on the other side.
Oh, I know. Don't worry about me. Yeah, I've given up. I've accepted my lot. So big cats, where did they come from? Why do people see big cats in the UK?
Because there are so many sightings.
Like
This is
hundreds,
the
isn't
thing.
there,
It's
every
like-
year?
The answer is because they exist. I mean, I've seen two, Richard's seen one. We've discovered we've got footprints, we've got kills, we've got
Oh wow.
hair that we have identified at two different DNA tested at two different universities, both of which said it was a leopard.
When I've spoken to you in the past, that it was you that sort of said to me that people in Devon just kind of accept they're just real. It's not like kind of us up in London, where it seems a bit more kind of outlandish, even though these things appear in every county in the UK. Down in Devon, where it's that much more rural, it seems that it's just a fact of life. Is that kind of how it is?
To a certain extent, but I think that really in every country area in the whole of every rural area in the whole country, I think people accept them. The people who live in the country, it's only townies like you, Biffo.
Well, you've seen one, haven't you?
That's the thing. It's that, I always describe myself to you as a hopeful skeptic, until I saw evidence firsthand in my eyes. I mean, there were certain things that I heard in Guyana that freaked me the hell out, and have certainly called some of my kind of stubborn beliefs into question. But the cats thing, because I've seen something that was, I suppose, what would be classed as an alien big cat, because I've seen one with my own eyes, I go, yeah, there are things out there, but then even then looking into it, there's so many sightings, and that it just seems to me that the question is more, why don't people in a widespread sense believe this? Why does the government, is there a cover up?
Well, yeah, this is what we wanted to ask. Do you think that there's a cover up?
Oh, yes, but not for the reasons that everybody thinks.
Oh.
Go on, tell us more.
Because people think there's a cover up because these cats are back engineered from genetic material found in the Roswell crash or some bollocks like that. Governments work, every government in the world works on the principle of creative inertia.
Right.
They do their best not to have to do anything.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
If they admitted that these things exist, they'd have to do something about it.
Right.
And can you imagine the can of worms that would open up?
Mm.
Can you imagine that no kids would be allowed to go unsupervised into the country?
Yeah.
Mm.
Anybody running any government, local government department running a country park or anything, the insurance they'd have to pay because they have potentially man-eating leopards. It would be absolutely impossible. And then what would they have to, what would the Ministry of Agriculture, whatever they call, was it deaf? Is it still deaf?
DEFRA, I think. Yeah, something like that.
I can never remember.
No, I can't. Yeah.
They change it every 5 minutes. But DEF would then have to pay compensation to farmers whose cattle have been taken, whose sheep have been taken.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it comes back to money, basically. It's about money.
It's about money and it's about effort. Politically, you and I are pretty well on the same page.
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're theoretical anarchists who don't want there to be money, but unfortunately there has to be.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 I mean, you were, it's weird because you always described yourself as an anarchist to me, and I didn't really know what that meant at the time.
Until last year.
And then I accidentally stumbled across a video about, I don't know, this is meant to be about big cat, but anyway, I stumbled across a video about anarchism and, anarchy, and I kind of went, oh God, I think I might be an anarchist.
Yeah, I think he stayed up. He stayed up at night.
Being anarchist, you idiot. I've known that for 20. Well, no, I've known that ever since I read Digitizer.
I never labeled myself anything, and then it was like,
yeah, it was the next day. I think you stayed up reading about it or something, and then the next day I'm like, "Are you okay? What's the matter?" And he's like, "I think I might be an anarchist." It's like this dawning, this realization.
There you go. Not to me.
You've always been an anarchist.
Yeah, I suppose in my own way. My own quiet form of anarchy.
Your quiet way.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing. Anarchists can only be their own form of anarchism. Because if they joined somebody else's movement about it, it wouldn't be anarchy anymore.
Totally true. Yeah. So look, what is your personal theory about where the cats come from? Because we've read all the escape from captivity, exotic pets, blah blah blah.
Yeah, there was even one theory that they may have always been here.
Yeah,
okay, that's bollocks.
Right. That's bollocks.
The theory that they've always been here was started by a lady called Di Francis, of whom I was very fond. She was a very, very nice woman, and I got very drunk with her one night in Hull, which is a place you just have to get drunk. She explained her theory to me, and I thought then, you are a very, very nice woman, but this is arrant nonsense.
Right.
There have been accounts of big cats in Britain ever since Roman times.
Yeah.
In the description of the Roman province of Britain, sent back to one of the emperors, I can't remember which one, the governor of Britain said, in Caledonia, that's Scotland, we have lions, but without the big mane as seen in those from Nubia.
Right.
Which is weird. Now, in the 18th century, William Cobbett, who was one of the first great socialist reformers, travelled around a lot of southern England and writing about what he saw and writing about social problems. And he wrote them down as something called Rural Rides. And in one of those, he talks about seeing what he called a catamount, which is the North American name for a lynx, of a
Oh,
tree in
wow.
Surrey. All of that stuff out of the way. I think the ones in Britain today,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try and come up with a excuse for a explanation for the Roman ones and even Cobbett's one.
Yeah.
And there are other accounts throughout history, but
Yeah.
I am sure that the ones in Britain today are descendants of escaped pets, escaped zoo animals, and after the Dangerous Wild Animals Act of 1976 and the zoo, whatever it is, you're going to have to look that up,
Yeah.
of 1981, Zoo Regulation Act of 1981, a lot of people, rather than have their animals put to sleep or destroyed, released them.
Just
Right.
release them.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd have done the same.
Yeah. How many do you think are potentially out there now?
Nowhere near as many as people think.
Right.
Oh.
It's a handful.
If there's more than 100, maybe 150 in the whole country, I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
And
it's
that's of all different species. That's
right
not,
of these. Yeah.
and I'll
Exactly.
tell you what also is adding to the confusion is that there are various now legitimate domestic cat species, races, such as there's something called a Chausie, which is a intergenerative hybrid between a jungle cat and a domestic moggy. I think it's a Persian cat, I'm not sure.
Wow.
And this looks like a jungle cat. But
Because they bred.
Didn't know that.
they've
What's
been
it called? A
delivered-
Chausie.
Chausie, Chussie, I
All right,
believe.
I just write it down.
Ah.
There's also the Bengal. Bengal is a hybrid between a Asian leopard cat and a domestic moggy. Rebred, so it's mostly domestic moggy, but it still keeps the color and shape of the leopard cat. And the most recent ones are savannah cats,
Oh,
which are
don't
very
know that.
popular. They're a cross between one of the African and Asian exotic cat species, which have then again been bred. I think people are not just seeing these things. I think that okay, you can breed a lot of the characteristics of these wild species out by recrossing them with domestic cats.
Yeah.
But they're still going to have the wanderlust of a wild species, and they're still going to escape more often.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
However, what I saw, which was on Bodmin Moor in Cornwall in May 1997, what I saw was a young half-grown puma. Couldn't have been anything else.
Where were?
And
Can you
what
tell us the
happened?
story of what you saw and
Again, everybody says, why don't we get decent pictures? I was on Bodmin Moor. I was not there looking for big cats. I'd actually just got laid for the first time since my divorce. And so I was driving back along past Bolventor down to the A30, feeling rather full of myself and feeling rather happy and chuffed, with my dog sitting up on the front seat looking out the window. And suddenly I saw the hindquarters. I saw all the head of a puma as it slowly walked across the road in front of me.
Slowly
There's
walking.
nothing else
Wow.
it could have been. I had a camera around my neck, I had a video camera sitting by the dog on the car's front seat, and I was so completely flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't do it. I just went,
Well, I mean, which is natural in at moments like that. You don't think you're so in shock and your brain's trying to process what's in front of you that unless you're really ready and prepared with the camera,
Do you know what? It's
it's
true.
not- yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw whatever the hell it was that I saw, and when I was on holiday, you know, cameras and things, you kind of think, oh, we're ready to, but actually
Especially if you're
driving
driving.
and everyone in the car went, what the hell is that? And it was gone before any of us could really react.
tell me your story. Where? Why?
It was
How?
Isle of Wight. When I came to the big cat conference with you back in the day, someone there, because it didn't look like any of these. It didn't look like yeah, panther, puma, leopard, or any of those. It was a strange, scrawny looking thing, but with quite a long neck.
We've got to get you to draw
I'll
it.
have to draw it. And I remember someone at the big cat conference that you invited me down to looked up and kind of I wish I could remember what breed it was or species it was that he managed to find, and he said, was it like this? And someone there managed to find a photo of one, and I thought, yeah, that's close, but it wasn't. It was so clearly not. It didn't belong. It looked out of place in the countryside, and it did the exact same thing. It walks out from a hedgerow across the road, kind of looks over its shoulder at the car, and goes into the opposite side
with its long neck.
Yeah, and I remember because I think I'd actually stopped because we had family following us in the car behind, and it was like, oh, where have they gone? And I had to stop and get out and say to them, did you just see that thing that just walked out in front of us? It was so odd.
Was it definitely a cat?
It was definitely feline. Yeah, it was not dog. It was definitely a feline something. And it was large, but not super large, but it was more that it just looked weird. It was weird.
What color was it?
It was a kind of tan color, sandy sort of tan color. So I don't know. That was I don't know, quite a long time ago now. But yeah, that was probably getting on for 20 years ago because my kids were quite little. But yeah, they're really odd, really odd. And it was after that, but it sort of, we all sort of said afterwards, it sent a chill through us because it looked so out of place. It so didn't look like it belonged there. So yeah, that was my big cat story. Yeah. And again, no one grabbed the camera, no one grabbed
who unless you're literally holding your phone, I think it's almost impossible to push yourself to take a photo, like to think, stop staring at the unusual animal, get your camera. You really have to have a lot of time.
Well, there is that part of it. Like, I don't want to look away because I don't want to miss a moment of this.
Yeah.
That's sort of what was happening. But it was more as well, my brain is trying to compute what's right in front of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, very odd.
I'm surprised that we don't have more of them photographed by cars' dash cams.
Yeah,
that's true. Yes, now that a lot of people have dash cams.
Yeah,
I mean, we do get pictures on dash cams, but there aren't as many as I would have thought there would be.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I was going to ask you about in relation to that, and I don't know if this is part of the whole cover-up thing, is why don't we see carcasses of the animals themselves, ever? Why, or do we?
Yeah. Well, I read a
There
story.
are reports.
There are. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a story of a lady who saw one at the side of the motorway, went home, she posted it somewhere online on Facebook or something, came back, and within an hour it was gone.
Right. That happens.
We don't know what happened to it.
Well, I think it's probable that at fairly high levels within the police or whatever, I don't know if it's police, the army, or whatever, there's instruction going out, for Christ's sake, if somebody hits one of these with a car, get rid of it quick.
Right. Well, thank you, John. That was all lovely and interesting and helpful, and it's just been lovely to catch up with you.
Lovely to meet you, Sanya, my
Me
dear.
too.
I've been waiting for this ass, who you call a husband, to introduce us for years.
No, I know he talks so much about you.
You wouldn't believe how often I talk about
Yeah.
you. We will come down and see you soon, definitely.
I really look forward to it.